Hello there, everyone, and welcome to tonight's UW RSO community stream featuring the Purple Caster Minions, the League of Legends RSO here at the UW. And tonight, members of the League of Legends community here at the UW are here for some fun 5 versus 5 free-for-all matches, in-house style, and here at the UW, our esports program seeks to build and foster community, open doors to the vast career opportunities in the field of gaming, and promote the virtues of healthy competition. Through esports, we are able to communicate with one another, forming and developing digital communities so necessary in the challenging times that we are facing. And we hope that you enjoy being a part of our community, and we invite you to get more involved as well. You can follow us here, as well as all our social channels at UW of Esports, where if you're interested in the UW's role in esports, you can keep up with our team's battle through the Apple Cup in 1 week, a full-scale esports tournament. And now to introduce ourselves, my name is Aaron, a second year here at the University of Washington, but you can call me Kestra, and I'll be one of your casters tonight.
All right, what's up, everyone? I'm Nathan, Clutch Poner, and third year here, UW, and excited to look at these in-houses,
Yeah.
What's going on.
Now, Nathan, I've had my share of casting in some collegiate matches, but I'll tell you what gets me really excited is actually these more casual, low-stakes matches, because I think that's where we really get to see some players cut loose with some bold plays and some unorthodox strategies.
I mean, no stakes. You kind of just do whatever you want, right? Have fun.
Absolutely, and I think that all starts in the champion picks, which we're going to get into right now. Starting off with the bans for the blue team. I can imagine we're just going to be looking for some overall power picks, unless these players here know what the opposing teams managed to one-trick. The first one to go out is going to be that Pantheon. Really strong flex pick on patch 11.2. It can be played virtually everywhere except the ADC role. And speaking of the ADC role, it is going to be the Samira followed up with that next ban. I think everyone who's played League of Legends in the past couple months knows how devastating this champion can be if it gets the ball rolling, especially in this less organized environment of an in-house.
Cassiopeia, all right, weird.
The bans are really shooting by here as Cassiopeia into the Camille, going out, really taking out that solo lane power from each of these teams. I'm not sure whether this is because members of either team are prolific players of these champions, but regardless, they are powerful in their own right, and Malphite is no exception. Very strong tank who can even hold his own in lane against some of the strongest lane bullies that we have here in League of Legends. Now the last ban to round it out for the red team is going to be that Olaf, one of the highest priority junglers in competitive play right now, and really an absolute force to be reckoned with in the jungle. That's going to be the Ziggs picked up for the first pick of the blue team. What do you think about that Ziggs pick, Nathan?
I don't know, man. Ziggs, to me, no skill, man. You just throw your Qs, throw your bombs, sit back, let it do damage for you, man.
Yep, very safe mid lane pick there. It's going to be the Kaisa instead. Not so safe in the AD carry role. Really going to be wanting to get in the enemy's face with that killer instinct when you're picking up Kaisa. And I think it's one of the strongest AD carries on patch 11.2. And you can see why the red team wanted to pick it up. But here's something that we're not so used to seeing in competitive play. It's going to be the Brand picked up, potentially for the support role, but also in the mid role. And now Jarvan 4 are going to be locked in as well. Now, I imagine that's going to be going in the jungle. But if you've been watching the Korean League, the LCK, in competitive League of Legends, we've seen this played AP support. I don't know how bold the blue team is feeling with this pick, but we'll see. It definitely has that opportunity. But for the moment, it is a very strong engaged champ to go along with this Tristana. They're going to be diving in together and looking for these multi-kill opportunities in these team fights. And I think it's quite a departure from the Ziggs, who's just trying to sit back and relax and fire out those bombs. Actually, it's going to be a dodge for the tournament realm. We'll let you know what happens here. Is it looks like the lobby not full quite just yet. It seems one of our players didn't have all of the champions owned. They were looking to make that swap, but he couldn't quite find the champion in time, so we're just going to redo that one to make sure that everybody has the same champions, make sure we're all on the same playing field. But Nathan, what did you think about that, what we saw of the champion select so far?
I mean, I think the band's pretty like self-explanatory, right? Like Malphite, Camille, who are like nasty team fighters.
Absolutely.
You don't really want any Camille R coming into your ADC or something, your carries. The thing is, I thought a Galio would definitely be banned, which is kind of similar in that sense, where you just have so much CC and team fighting ability.
Yep, Camille Galio, a really strong combo if you can get to the two together, but red team making sure to chop up that those two picks, and we're going to go even faster with the bans than we did the first time, as both teams going to zip right by their picks, make sure everything was on the same page as before, perhaps with the exception of whatever champion was missing from the red team draft. Still going to be that first pick, Ziggs, that seems that the mid laner of red team is so enthusiastic about. And remains to be seen where this brand is going to go. He could also end up in the jungle, as a matter of fact. Definitely one of the more prominent roles is he's not often seen as a solo laner these days, but finally it's going to be that third red side pick here. Oh, carefully awaiting when it's going to be. The Echo is hovered. That's going to carve out potentially one of the solo lanes, but with the Graves hovered as well, it looks like this is going to be the jungle pick that we're about to find out. Kha'Zix's now hovered, and I think that's got to be a pretty interesting matchup into the Jarvan. It's got Kha'Zix, of course, very all about that dueling potential in those jungle skirmishes. Meanwhile, Jarvan about that team fight engage, and I don't know how the two interact in that 1v1, but I imagine in the isolation, Kha'Zix is going to win out. But we're going to head into the second ban phase here. Both teams with some pretty interesting compositions, and I've got to say, not too much synergy between each other. Now the Seraphine's going to be banned out. What do you think about the Seraphine on this patch, Nathan?
Honestly, don't really have much to say about Seraphine besides just a control mage, right? You kind of just sit back and your spells out. Squishy. Think about this Kha'Zix, you know, you get a kill or two on Kha'Zix, man. You get snowball out of control. You get
absolutely
lethality and you just one-shot everyone. And right now you got like Ziggs, Tristana. Don't really, you catch them out, they're just one-shot.
Yep, he's really going to be trying to prey on some of the less mobile members of the blue team, try to get that ball rolling, especially in this more chaotic in-house environment. And alongside him for the right is going to be the Shen. We've got a kind of an interesting diving composition going on the red side, with the exception of the brand. Kha'Zix and Kaisa both with the ability to jump into the enemy team, and Shen going to follow up with that Stand United. But actually the Trundle going to be locked in for the blue team, and what this signals to me is that it's actually going to be the AP Jarvan support that I was talking about earlier. This is going to be a sight to see, and it's going to be Trundle who's going to be dueling out the Kha'Zix instead. And I think compared to Jarvan, he's got a stronger 1v1 matchup because of his ability to reduce Kha'Zix's attack damage, but still, you don't want to be finding that 1v1 unless you've got teammates to back you up. And it's going to be Jinx locked in for the blue team to finish off their composition with that AD carry. Jinx definitely seeing a lot more play this patch because of the buffs to the Runaan's Hurricane. One of her key items in Filipino Thug with this last pick is going to lock up the Anivia, meaning that brand is going into the bot lane as a support. Anivia, I don't think is being talked about enough how strong this champion is. She's got so much wave clear fundamentally as a champion, but she's also got a lot of killing pressure, and it's so hard to finish her off even in a 1v2 situation because of her egg. She can buy so much more time for her teammates to follow up, especially with the Stand United. And now with both teams finishing off their compositions, Nathan, what are you thinking about how we're going to see this game pan out?
I don't know. I hate red team's comp, man. They got Shen, Kha'Zix, and Anivia. I just don't want to play against this.
Yeah, I can imagine neither the jungler or the mid lane are going to have much of a fun time here, but I think we, the spectators, are going to have quite a fun time with it, especially with some of these picks that we're not too used to seeing. It's going to be the Tristana in the mid lane. I would say definitely a viable pick. Marksmen often seeing their time in the sun in the mid lane with the likes of Lucian, but Tristana's a kind of a beast of her own with how she's all about that all-in potential, going to dive right in, get that reset, and dive right back out. We're going to see how she's able to interact with Anivia. She's got a bit of a range advantage in that sense, but Anivia, of course, an absolute force to be reckoned with. And if she's able to find that stun in the middle of the rocket jump, that could absolutely throw a wrench into the composition of the blue team, which it looks like with these swaps, it's actually going to be Trundle in the top lane, Jarvan in the jungle, and Ziggs as a support. Ziggs supports something I wasn't entirely prepared for, but he does have his niches. That explosive minefield going to provide an AoE slow, as well as the satchel charge, able to knock back some of the less mobile members of the red team. It's things like the Brand and the Anivia. Overall, not too much mobility apart from the Kaisa and the Kha'Zix on that red side composition, but regardless, they've got a lot of kill pressure and a lot of damage threats to deal with as well. And just as we're waiting for the spectator delay, we are going to head into a short break. We'll be back to see how these teams decide to play out that level 1. A full precision, full teleport team comp. We've got teleport on the support, teleport on the ADC on the mid laner, even on the jungler who's going to be foregoing the flash to make sure that he has that smite to go along with it. And I think what blue team has got going on here is a tower demolishing composition. What they're going to be doing is using the attack speed buffs from all of their champions and the satchel charge from Ziggs to be executing towers as fast as possible. And where do the teleports come in? They're going to be using the teleports to use the invulnerability on the minions that are currently taking the turrets. And they're going to do this strategy to try to take out the turrets in the mid lane, I imagine, as fast as possible. And I am super stoked to see how this is going to go down.
I'm trying to see 5 teleports to 1 lane. This is going to be...
Yeah. Looks like maybe in the top lane we've got something of a skirmish going on. Is Shen going to go down very low against the Trundle? Looks like he was not able to withstand the damage that Trundle's got at level 1. That Chomp is absolute menace at level 1. You cannot duel the Trundle at this rate, even with Shen, who's got a strong level 1 in his own right. Both flashes are going to be expended for the top laners, but it's going to result in a level 1 first blood for Seiko on this Trundle. And I think if there was ever something that the blue team needed to get this strategy going, it's going to be that gold advantage. He's going to be able to pick up a dagger and get back into lane with that teleport. All about that attack speed as he's going to be hitting those turrets.
TP already used the Trundle. Jarvan's looking over top this wall, or level 2 gank maybe?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Jarvan finishing off that red buff. He's got the sweeper to make sure that this gank goes smoothly. I don't know if the red team's gonna be expecting this, but we're gonna be going into this gank immediately. The flag and drag going to miss thanks to the flash on Filipino Thug on this Grand Male. Just forced to walk away from that one with nothing ventured, nothing gained. Without that flash, it looks like he didn't have the reach that he needed to land that knockup from the flag and drag. Unfortunately, he did pick up the flash from the opposing support, and that's going to mean a successful gank, but it is going to set his clear a little bit behind, and that could be pretty dangerous against the Kha'Zix, who's going to head straight over to the blue buff potentially once he finishes his own red buff, and maybe look for that invade, but it's going to be pretty hard given that Seiko's got so much priority here in the top lane, having picked up that extra dagger in level 1.
Yeah, even if with that late bot, Jarvan doesn't do anything here, because Kha'Zix blues are on red.
Both junglers going to be finishing off their second buff. Kha'Zix a grump ahead because he didn't go for that level 2 gank, but now that he's got level 3 with that double buff clear, it looks like he's going to be looking for this top gank here, try to even things out in the top lane. Trundle's in kind of a rough spot, but I imagine he'll be able to get away from this one, but maybe not without that flash, as here's Foscus with the gank going to happen here. Seiko might have to look for the Shen here, just try to trade out a kill, but the taunt is going to make sure that that goes out smoothly. That guy going down very low, the teleport from the blue team is going to come out as well. That's actually the Jarvan's teleporter, finishes him off with that strike. The Q gonna finish him off and turn that gank into a 1-for-1, and meanwhile a teleport going down in the ball lane where there was a solo kill while the top gank was happening, and now Alpha's Glory going to flash in alongside Oshawott on that James, and they're gonna be going in with the rocket jump as well, as Lian able to finish off the opposing AD carry. 2-for-1 in the bot lane. Blue team turning things into 3-for-3 as far as the kill score goes, and this early game is looking absolutely chaotic.
I mean, this is exactly what I think blue team wants, right? All this random crap happening, everything is going, everyone's fighting, like blowing sums everywhere. You love to see it.
Yep, and I think what's really key about them blowing the flashes of the enemy teams is that they're now on even playing field for the most part. They do have teleport on the rest of their players, going to try to turn things into an even summoner advantage, so they do have a level playing field when it comes to those fights, but things can be a little uneven for the red team if the goal is going in the right places. For the blue team, you can see even more daggers going into the inventories of the marksmen on the blue team. I imagine those are going to be turning into noon quivers for those marksmen, but where it's going for the Trundle remains to be seen. But regardless, we're seeing an absolute tower demolishing strategy that is going to be panning out, I imagine, once this early game starts to get rolling. Seiko, he had a bit of an advantage in the top lane with that level 1, but Shen, a pretty strong laner, and with the wave on his side, it's going to mean that if Seiko overextends in those trades, he's going to get taunted up and take a lot of minion aggro. So he's got to play this one a little bit cautiously, even though he's got a little bit of a gold advantage for himself. Meanwhile, down in the bot lane, Lian123 on this Kaisa has picked up an early pickaxe for himself, having gotten 2 of those kills down there in the bot lane. And Kha'Zix's going to make his way down here as well, while the Jarvan is on reset. But it looks like he's just going to channel that recall. Not going to try to look for anything like a dive here, as it looks pretty hard with the amount of crowd control that is available down there in the bot lane.
Blue team did have a deep ward in the Kha'Zix jungle there, so even
that is true. Yep, that they do. And now Seiko maybe gonna look for this play onto Nightgale, but he's canceling a few too many autos. He has the Ignite going down onto him as well. Now Nightgale's on the offensive as he's trying to finish him off. The Ignite not going to do it, but Nightgale just waiting for that taunt to come back up as the King's Domain. Gonna try to get the movement speed for Seiko. He's gonna get finished off as soon as that dash comes up for the Shen. Now he's back on the offensive with the bounty to his name. Hearthbound Axe going to enter Trundle's inventory, but that's 2 kills for the top laner of the red team. And suddenly things not looking as good as they were earlier for the blue, but maybe some jungle intervention could change things around here as Boskus and Mail on this Jarvan gonna pass like ships in the night. Neither gonna see the other as you're in the fog. You can see both of them just making their way into the opposing jungler's territory. But Boskus is going to find himself some wolves. Meanwhile, the Jarvan not quite going to find anything, but it looks like wanting to find some camps. He's going to run into the Kha'Zix here at his wolves. We'll see if Kha'Zix is able to find them in time. Has the smite. Mail is able to secure those for himself. Unfortunately, Kha'Zix is able to walk away from that one. Just a little bit of time wasted. Did get the gold from those small wolves, but he was ideally looking to find some more, and he's going to try to find some more here in this top lane. The taunt is not going to land on the Seagos. The pillar is going to try to keep Boskus at bay for just a little bit, but there is so much damage between Nightgale and Boskus in this top jungle duo. And that's going to be another kill going the way of the red team. Suddenly, the Trundle, who had himself a roaring start with that first blood, with the intervention of the jungler, this Kha'Zix suddenly turning things in the tides of the red team. And like you were saying, once Kha'Zix starts to get the ball rolling in the jungle with that early game, once he picks up that lethality, he's going to be an absolute menace, especially when he's in those duels.
You know what the worst part of that kill from Kha'Zix was? Jarvan pings out Kha'Zix on wolves, Trundle's still pushing up under tower. You know, you gotta love these top laners say, oh, jungle diff, man. But pay attention to the map, pay attention to the game state.
Yep, just a little bit of awareness, missed awareness going to cost Seiko there, but you can see he's continuing to play with full aggression here, keeping this wave state in front of the opposing turret. He does not care about where the opposing jungler is, but he might have to care about where Nightgale is, as he is losing out hard in these trades, and that is a big reason of that is going to be the Ninja Talkie picked up by Nightgale. But here's Filipino Thug on the roam. Benivia doesn't have much mana to follow up on it, but they are able to force a Buster Shot out from Tristana, but it's going to cost a lot for the red team as the bot lane of the blue team is bearing down on those platings, but they're going to try to even things out here as they are spotted on the Scuttle Vision. Kings are coming out and bot lane is on the retreat, but once again, Nightgale able to find the solo kill in the top lane. He is carrying this Trundle apart. It is not looking like a good matchup up there in the top lane, and even without that jungle intervention, that is all that he needs. Just Trundle to play a bit too aggressively and walk into that taunt. He's able to have so much damage on him, even with this Ninja Tabi first build, with the percent health from his Spirit's Blade.
Jarvan looks like a Rift Herald here, and based on how they want to do this is a big objective for the blue team. They got the Ziggs, the bomb.
Yep, if this is going to be turret-oriented game, they are totally content to trade out that dragon for the Rift Herald. So now Jarvan going to make his way into that topside jungle as Boss is waiting in the wings in the mid lane, but not going to be able to find anything there as Jarvan is dandily taking away his red buff, losing quite a bit, the Kha'Zix is, for the moment, and Jarvan going to go ahead and camps. You can see in the mid lane, this mid lane matchup actually looking quite a bit difficult for the Tristana, and Nivea able to play so aggressively once she has that ultimate. Tristana, she might have the range advantage as far as the auto attacks go, but here's Filipino Thug in the bot lane looking for a flank on this Brand. Is he going to be able to find the stun? He has the Pillar of Flame to almost get onto Dark Hand. Forced out his flash as Lian is going in. Spirit's Refuge not going to be able to keep that support alive as Lian goes under the turret and try to finish off that last kill, but that's going to be up a 2-for-1 in the bot lane in favor of the blue team, and a shutdown going the way of the Jinx. Overall, quite favorable for the blue team. Red team thinking they could overstep their boundaries there, trying to find a flank with Brand of all champions in that 2 versus 2, but he didn't quite have the insurance that he needed to land that stun and make sure that flank went through. And it's going to cost them a lot as blue team finally making their move with this composition. We've got 4 members of the blue team down here in this ball lane. They got a Rift Herald to their name, the teleport going through as well, and now Boskus over the wall, maybe trying to find something here, but the honest Mori on this Tristana instead is going to try to find him out. He's in isolation, forced to use that Buster Shot to get the Kha'Zix away from him. But red team importantly able to keep the defense up. Rift Herald not going to go down quite just yet. Blue team maintaining that discipline with that turret destroying ability, and now forced to go on the retreat here in the face of red team, or not quite just yet, as the Bombus Mori maybe trying to find a Vasquez here as he's forced to flash away from the Jarvan, and he doesn't have anything left, which means he's going to go down to the mid laner of the blue team, and now suddenly the numbers advantage is in the favor of the blue team. Gale Force going to go down from Oshawott on this Jinx, the jump goes through and finds Filipino Thug from the Ziggs. 4 members have now popped the Rift Herald in this ball lane. This is everything this team composition was designed for. They've got the Demolishes going through, they've got the Rift Herald going through, they have the Ziggs execute going through. If the game doesn't end here, this composition has failed. 4 members, now this Trundle coming through with the teleport to keep that cannon minion alive. Anivia is doing everything he can to try to keep the wave clear going, but an inhibitor is going to go down as well as the Rift Herald finds that one last card. The Rift Herald is still alive, and the Trundle is going to find the Trundle on the Rift Herald just got to find that next card, but the card is looking so low for the blue team as the red team finally on the offensive are able to find the shutdowns onto the Bombus Board. That's 3 for 0 in this base defense with a 10-minute inhibitor for the blue team. This is everything they worked for, and now Oshawott and Darkest on the run, and it looks like red team doesn't have much tools left to try to take them out. Wow, I cannot believe the sequence that just happened down there in the bot lane, but one thing I'm concerned about is what are they going to do with that inhibitor having gone down? Because one of the main reasons you want to take out these inhibitors is to create space for these neutral objectives, force the other team to have to answer the wave before they can make their way over to the river, but it's just 10 minutes into this game. Right now, all they're getting is the super minions going straight into their base, and that's going to give them such favorable and safe wave states, such an easy way to find farm. And on the other hand, blue team, they didn't find so much as a Nexus turret off that push, and it looks like I'm expecting that red team's going to get quite a gold advantage going because of the super minions down there in the bot lane.
I mean, there's no Baron on their side. There's no...
Yeah, but hold on, I'm gonna have to cut you off for a second. This might scale one and look solo kill onto Seiko. Tries to use the pillar to keep his opponent away, but that is the 6th kill for Nightscale in the top lane. The Trundle having such a hard time here against his opponent and playing continually so aggressively, but now Filipino Thug, the Ice and Fire combo, going to find the shutdown onto Darkest on that Ziggs. Now the Jarvan maybe in a wrong spot here as the Vasquez on that Caustic is going to dive onto him, but they don't have a lot to follow up there after they used a lot on that Ziggs. But that was a 4 kill advantage for the red team. Still a little bit of gold behind, but it's not too important as once again those super minion waves are going to keep being sent into the Kaisa down there in the bot lane. She's going to have so much freedom to farm those from the safety of her base. Meanwhile, all blue team's got to do is sit back there and watch, and they tried to make that big push happen with the Rift Herald, but all they found was an inhib for it, where they're going to have to wait their next chance for the next Rift Herald, I imagine. But for the moment, they're going to be losing a lot, especially with how strong this Shen is. Not going to find a lot of opportunities for picks because of that Stand United, and that's going to mean a lot of stunted gold opportunities for this blue team.
I mean, honestly, you say, like, you know, they take inhibitor, but they split the goal between themselves, you know, 4 or 5 people. There's no Baron to take on the map, and it just kind of disastrous, honestly. Because you look at Kaisa and Nivea, these are super hard scaling characters, man. How you give them free gold, right? So
yep, and
is not good.
That's the hope of the red team, is going to be able to make it to that late game when that pushing power of this blue team composition is going to be largely diminished. Once they can get the Anivia and the Kaisa going, it's going to be all but lights out for the blue team, especially with how behind Seiko is in the top lane. He's just there to provide some extra pressure, wave clearing in the top lane. But here, once again, blue team looking for the push in the mid lane. Get that execute with the satchel charge. But now Filipino Thug might be in trouble here as the Cataclysm goes on to him as the brand is going to go down. But a big play from Thomas Mori is going to send the Anivia into the rest of his team with that Buster Shot. But he has the edge to keep himself alive, and now a taunt flash from the Shen is going to find out Oshawott as Seiko once again in that 1v2 against the top jungle of the red team is not going to find a thing, and red team winning out big in that fight after losing out that mid lane turret, trying to look for the chase onto Mail, but they are totally content with the outcome of that fight. Now find themselves 6 kills ahead of their opponents, but only 300 gold ahead, and that's really a testament, I think, to how well blue team has been able to play the map even with this kind of troll team composition. But Darkest is trying to wave clear here all by his lonesome with no mana, and he's going to force Mail to come over and help him as well. Delay that back timing for just a little bit, but that's going to mean that Mail's going to find that top lane Scuttle Crab. Finally, the gold advantage is going to be swung in the favor of the red team, but importantly for the blue, they've got a lot of bounties to their name, and if they ever position just a bit too far forward, if blue team have the opportunity that they need, they can pick up a big 600 gold bounty on that Shen perhaps. But they are all over the Rift Herald as soon as it spawns. The red team are tipped off to it with that Squire's Bloom. Nightscale going to make his way over to try to delay this take from happening, but it's going to be secured by the smite from Mail. And now the Pillar is going to try to find Nightscale, but he's just able to taunt away from that one, keeping those auto attacks at bay with that Spirit's Refuge. But Oshawott gets nearly one shot by Boskus, who has that fully completed Duskblade, forced to flash away from the jungler of the red team. This is the power of the Kha'Zix we're talking about, especially when he starts out the game with 4 kills like this. But blue team has got the Rift Herald, and now this game is going to be decided by how they decide to make use of it. If they're able to get something big out of it, maybe a big inhibitor once again, maybe in the mid lane, or even a big team fight converted out of it, then suddenly the blue team is looking like a really strong position in this game. But for the moment, Boskus looking for Seiko here, has the isolation with Darkest going away from him. He's able to leap away from that one before things get too hairy, and the Anivia there to peel away for him in the mid lane. Rest of the blue team rotating down to the bot lane. They don't want an extra inhibitor. They want a Nexus, and they're going to make sure that the Rift Herald charges to it. And the pings are coming down for the red team. They know exactly what the blue team is up to, and they do not want to let it happen. It's going to come down to whether Anivia is able to find that infinite wave there with that ultimate of hers. The Glacial Storm. Nightscale going to find the flank onto the Abomasmore, who goes over the wall, but he's going to find out a Kha'Zix instead. The Buster Shot gets cancelled, and now Mail is stuck stewing in the Glacial Storm from the Anivia, finds the shutdown on the opposing jungler. Shutdown going to go the way of the AD carry for the blue team on Shen. But now Lian123 diving in with that Killer Instinct, goes down pretty low, but is able to walk away from that one as Oshawott's forced to kite away from that Glacial Storm, and Darkest trying to keep the rest of the red team at bay. But Boskus finding out that slow with those Void Spikes. Oshawott running for his life here. It looks like red team wants to keep up the chase, so they have a couple stuns between them as the wall is going to keep Oshawott locked up there, and now the empowered spike from the Anivia is going to get the kill onto the AD carry. 4 for 2 it looks like in favor of the red team, and importantly, that's going to mean that the blue team is going to finish this game off with a surrender vote. They didn't get that Rift Herald off, and they know that was their last win condition, and that is going to mean the game for the red team. Blue team coming into this in-house with a hilarious strategy and almost making it work, but just a few too many mishaps is going to mean that the gold advantage goes the way of the red team. They're able to win out in that last stand team fight.
I mean, blue team, you look at, they have no way to just get engaged here. You just have to run at them, right? With Trundle, Jarvan just EQs, I guess, and then maybe RN, but Anivia walls you off, just stuns you, and then Kha'Zix just eating up your back line. There's no chance.
Right.
You don't win the game at 10 minutes, I mean, you're not going to win the game.
Yeah, but you do have to admire how well they were able to play that early, even with playing at somewhat of a disadvantage with those 5 teleports and playing solely for that Rift Herald in the bot lane. They were maintaining that gold lead for so far, even while they were at those kill disadvantages in the early game, and things almost turned into their favor. If they had just made that team fight a little bit more advantageous for themselves down there in the bot lane, they potentially could have got the dream of sending that Rift Herald all the way to the Nexus. But it is going to mean the red team wins out in that in-house for game 1, and I'm so interested to see what kind of spicy strats are coming out for these next games that we have coming up. I
mean, yeah, I guess, because I'm definitely not gonna see anything like that again with 5 teleports. But I mean,
yeah, it's totally something that we'll definitely never see in a competitive context, I can suppose. But that's what we're here to see in these in-houses. People just here to have fun in a 5-man environment, and that's what I love to see. But as we're waiting for this next game, we are going to go on break for the moment. Just wait for the next lobby to fill up, and for this next set of 10 players to test their skills against each other. All right, we are into the second game of the night. The red team this time playing once again their turret demolishing strategy, League of Legends speedrun style, lethal tempos all across the board. But this time they've changed out their Trundle from earlier in game 1 to a Nasus, and maybe we'll see if their strategy changes because of it. In game 1, we saw Nightscale was able to put a stop to them in their tracks by winning out super hard in that top lane with plenty of solo kills. And now he's got an even easier matchup, I think, with Irelia versus Nasus, able to get a lot more priority in this top lane than he earlier had. But maybe this is what Seiko needs, is to play a little less aggressive and open up less opportunities for those solo kills and make sure that he can follow his team through thoroughly into those Rift Herald pushes that they want to win out the game in. And for the moment, the level 1 looking a lot quieter than it was in game 1. No level 1 first blood going to be happening this time around. But as you can imagine, both teams going to play out pretty standard, albeit with 5 teleports across the board until that Rift Herald spawns. We're really going to see some action going.
The weird thing about this Nasus pick is you ideally want priority top, right, for these heralds, because you don't want to have Aurelia to come in and just mess your day up. So the Nasus pick kind of weird unless you guys Jarvan wants to impact top early here. And
but I have heard rumblings that there is one way to play Nasus where you go full for that lane priority, trying to max either the Wither or that E instead. I don't know how much has this has been seen, and I haven't seen the viability of the strategy for myself, but maybe they've got something up their sleeve, and they do have this team composition up their sleeve, so maybe they know something that we don't. But regardless, I can imagine the Nasus, even with that fleet footwork, is going to have a pretty hard time in that top lane, but maybe that's going to open up more opportunities for the jungler to come his way, and you can see Seiko definitely conceding that lane priority on this pick and not walk up to the Irelia unless he wants to get really beat down with those passive empowered auto attacks. On the other hand, Mail on this Jarvan going to be full clearing the bot side. Pretty interesting. Not actually going to go for that level 3 gank. Wants to try to keep pace, I imagine, with the Graves and maybe fight over this top lane Scuttlecrab to try to get the top lane where it needs to be.
The good thing about this Graves pick, though, they got a lot of AD on the opposition, so he can just build up those E stacks, those grid stacks, and just kind of...
Yep, and Vivamas Mori getting a bit too close for that trade there, gets clipped by just the edge of the charm and takes a turret hit because of it. Gonna get ignited as well, and with no more potions to his name, suddenly there's a bit of kill pressure there in the mid lane. Going to be interesting to see how these junglers decide to interact with it as Mail finishes off the red buff. Just to go for that 5 camp clear, he's pretty content with just the double box, and now he's going to be making his way over into the Graves' jungle, maybe looking for an invade here. Not going to go into the jungle quite just yet, though, as you know, Nightingale is looking pretty pushed up here. Maybe with the Wither they can find something going on, as this gank is definitely happening, and now the armor shred is going down from Seiko on this Nasus. The slow lands from that Aegis, and now he gets the flag and drag into the knockup, into the first blood. Very well executed by Mail as Boskus tries to return this kill here as he goes on to Mail. He has the phase rush to keep up the pace. The shield going to be weighted out just a little bit by Boskus. And now Mail tries to kite into the minion wave to keep those autos from hitting him, but he's going to get finished off eventually. Seiko not quite in the position that he needed to help out his jungler. Fortunately, Boskus is able to turn that one into a 1-for-1, but the first blood is going to go the way of the red side jungler. And maybe that's what they need to snowball this early game into their favor and try to convert that into an early Rift Herald. Other teams or other lanes as well looking pretty dicey, but Seiko gonna get engaged on by Boskus again, who has the level 4. He's trying to kite inside that minion wave, but he's gonna beat down pretty hard in the phase rush. Gonna proc, but that's just gonna mean that he gets an earlier escape, and Boskus is gonna head straight for that top side Rift Herald. In the bot lane, we actually find a solo kill between the bot laners. Lian and Filipino Thug trying to keep up the chase onto Darkess, excuse me, but they don't have a lot of mana left. But Darkess, he's keeping it up to try to bait for Mail, who's here with the teleport from the Jinx. Oshawott has the rockets to try to keep up the chase, but he forces out the flash with the 80 carry, and Filipino Thug, with no flash to his name, is going to get picked up. A teleport expended in order to pick up another kill in the bot lane, and it will even things out in that department. Well played by Darkess to maintain that bait, excuse me, in the bot lane and make sure that the jungler can find another kill to convert for his team. But there was a solo kill down there in the bot lane. The flash was expended by the Gragas for it, and maybe that's what the avenue that the blue team needs in order to make sure that this strategy does not go through. As the charm is going to land in the mid lane onto Bawamas Mori, who tries to land the rocket jump to make sure that he wins out in this trade. And win out he is with that lethal tempo. He fights back hard. Once the Ari expends that full combo, she's kind of a sitting duck, and that's going to mean that the rocket jump is scot-free. Able to get a lot of damage with that explosive charge, and now Darkess, his back going to get delayed from Oshawott because of the Gragas making it back on time, and now he's a little bit stranded down here in the bot lane. It's going to be a bit of a staggered death as the jungler is going to make it back as well. ADC going to be all by his lonesome in the bot lane, and maybe if the blue team's able to pick up on that, they can find a kill for themselves. But speaking of kills, Nightingale going to go onto Seiko under his own wave, but that's exactly what Irelia wants, as the flash is going to be expended from Seiko, and Nightingale nearly finding that solo kill for himself once again, really exerting himself in this top lane matchup. And while the Nasus has got a tiny bit of a CS lead with that Sheen, the Irelia is absolutely still a force to be reckoned with, nearly finding that solo kill just a level down. But if the ball lane has got the priority here, and maybe that's going to mean that the blue team's able to find themselves a dragon take. Instead, Graves, though, going to path up to the top lane and maybe into this into the mid lane. Zavamis a little bit too far forward in this lane, but he has the rocket jump, and Graves knows it, so he's going to find that ward for himself.
I mean, after that top flash, I think I would have liked to see Aurelia flash there, because no TP from Nasus, no flash. I mean, it's a free kill, and you get a huge wave under tower. I think he loses a lot.
Yep. Nice kill, though. Maybe he didn't know where the jungler was. Didn't want to risk it, or also maybe he didn't know whether the Wither was going to keep him from getting onto him, even with the flash. But regardless, Nightscale still in the driver's seat in that top lane, and I think that's what the blue team wants, because the red team strategy pivoting entirely around the Rift Herald for these pushes. As Boss is going to land the smoke screen off to Seiko, but not too much going to be found off of it. As now Ahri going in here maybe with the Ignite, has that Spirit Rush, try to find one more Q onto Babamis Mori. He's forced to flash away there. Flash not expended in the mid lane for the blue team, and that's looking pretty good as the False Duet going to miss onto the Nasus. The collateral damage over the wall. Blind, as a matter of fact. Perfect prediction is going to mean that kill is going to be followed through on Earwax. Thanking his jungler for that, going to pick up an assist for himself, and now Boskus is 2-0 in this early game jungle matchup. It was Mail in the driver's seat, very much so in game 1, but now the Graves definitely going to get the ball rolling for the blue team, and going to get this Mountain Dragon picked up at just 7 minutes into this game. And importantly, what that means is that they're going to have the opportunity to go to the Rift Herald if they so please. Filipino Thug and Leon looking for the trade to buy a little bit of space for their jungler, and it looks like with Mail pathing towards the top side, he's going to accept that dragon's going down, and is just going to try to make sure that he has full priority on the Rift Herald, which is going to be spawning in just a few moments here. Blue side using that bot lane priority to secure the dragon for themselves, but I'm sure they know that this isn't where the game is going to be won. Red team is all about double Rift Herald or bust, and I mean it, because if they don't get that last push onto the Nexus with that Rift Herald, they are going for the FF button instead. Nightgale, you can see with just a Vampiric Scepter into his opponent, is able to find such huge trades onto the Nasus. But regardless, Red team once again flawlessly finding their 8-minute Rift Herald right on time, and this is where the game is really going to start to pick up. You can imagine all the members of the red team are going to be finding their way into the bot lane, but that's only if they can get the Rift Herald. Charm going to land onto Mail on the Jarvan, but he's able to secure the Eye of the Herald for himself, and now they're going to try to set up this push here. Let's see how blue team decides to react to this. Are they going to want to find something of their own on the other side of the map, or are they going to divert all their efforts into that bot lane push? But regardless, here we go. 3 teleports going to be expended for the red team, going straight into the bot lane. Both of the marksmen making their way over here, and the hard push is happening, whether the blue team likes it or not. Graves is on the other side of the map, though. Is he going to be here on time to react to it? Only time will tell. Only 2 members of the blue team here to react to it. Not even the Rift Herald going to be necessary so far, as the Satchel Charge is there for the execute. Graves is running as fast as he can to make sure that the red team doesn't find a Nexus off this play. But now all 5 members have made it down to the bot side of the lane. They are going to be looking for potentially an inhibitor there. They found it last game, that 10-minute inhib take. But are they going to be able to find even more? Maybe not, as blue team is totally tipped off to their strategies. And Earwax looking for the flank with the charm here. The assistance ping is coming down. They're finding some poke there, and they're going to look for a team fight. They don't want this Rift Herald to go down, but it's going to go down one way or the other. The Falls Duet is going to find 2. Mail and Seiko now on the retreat as the Irelia is going in with a 5-man Vanguard deck. Earwalk with the blink. Going to find some damage as well. Babamis Mori is chased off. Seiko and Babamis are all by themselves as a 5-4-0 ace with a massive play from the Irelia is going to crush the red team's dreams in their tracks. No inhibitor for you today, sir. We have figured out your science, and we know exactly what we need to do. They had the advantages with the gold from those early topside plays, and they knew it as Nightscale charged in there with absolute impunity, finding that 5-man ultimate and tearing the red team apart.
I mean, you can't think of a more nightmare scenario for red team here. I mean, everyone goes bot, drop the hail, everyone dies. It's just 15, get out.
Yeah, man. Out. And we know that they're totally keen to the or bust part of this strategy. And it looks like with that Herald play having failed, they're going to stake all their hopes on a mid lane push here, setting both their marksmen into the mid lane. But there's a lot of wave clear between Filipino Thug and this Ari, as Bahamas barely able to find that second plating of that turret. It looks like without a 5-man push and without a 5-man Rift Herald, things are looking all but lost for the red team, unless they suddenly decide to pivot into a normal League of Legends strategy, which I know that they're not so boring as to attempt. But Nightscale here is going to try to find that flawless duet onto Seiko, but the autos are dealing plenty to him. Doesn't even need that full blade of the Ruined King to demolish the Nasus in these trades. As Boxkiss with that Gale Force over the wall is going to one-shot the Tristana before she gets a chance to react with that rocket jump. And now the tables have turned because it's the blue team with the 4-man mid lane strategy, and only 2 members of the red team here to try to interrupt it. Seiko forced to flash away from that flawless duet lest he find himself killed. Nightscale looking so strong in the top lane with how much he was able to find down there in that last team fight. And he's going to get an auto to finish off that solo kill once again. Nightscale is the bane of this turret taking strategy, and he's making sure they know it. Boskus as well with a big bounty of his own. The Gale Force completed at just 10 minutes means he's going to have so much mobility, so many opportunities to look for plays and look for these picks, and plenty of damage to boot. But meanwhile, Nightscale looking for some platings of his own, going to try to strike back with an outer turret, but Seiko going to teleport back. Just the Kindle Gem and the Sheen, and still Earwag going to find the full combo onto Bahamas, who's forced to go over the wall with the rocket jump. The last bit of the Spirit Rush finally going to find him with the Ignite, fast away from the Cataclysm, and Filipino Thug here to protect his mid laner. Just going to make sure that they don't engage on them very much further. And now things are looking super bleak for the red team, all but lost at this rate, unless that second Rift Herald is able to find everything that the red team is looking for. But for the moment, the gold advantage is looking so insurmountable here. Even though it's just 2,000 at 12 minutes into this game, it's all in the right places, all in the right carries. Jin, even though he's the AD carry, isn't what they need, and Boskus and Filipino Thug gonna find the jungler in his own blue buff. Super hard for Male to play the game here when Boskus is just running around with the Gale Force, and with 2 members of his team. And now Vavam is going to go down as well, trying to find something, maybe a ward or something, maybe overstaying his welcome down there in the bot lane. But Nightscale going to send out the Vanguard's Edge to try to win out in this 1v1, but Nasus is one tough character when he has the ultimate going, but not quite tough enough, as now Oshawa is going to have to face off against a 2-level ahead Irelia, fully stacked with Conk, fully stacked with passive, and this game is fully stacked in the blue team's favor. 13 kills ahead at 13 minutes. Red team just waiting for when they can FF, I can imagine, or maybe gonna try to stake one last play on the Rift Herald just for giggles.
I mean, Irelia is too big. I mean, everyone on the blue team's got a bounty here. It's just good players have bounties, I guess, and it's too much for red team to overcome here.
Yeah, really the bomb is trying to find a wave here. He's just having a little fun for himself here. Showing Nightscale he can find the double rocket jump combo when he so pleases, even if it spells his own death. There's now another teleport. It looks like it's going to be from Male in the jungle. It's going to mean that he's going to try to look for this play onto Nightscale. Dodges out on that flawless duet, but doesn't have the Cataclysm quite just yet. Fully stacked in the Conqueror, and now 2 members of his team are joining him. Maybe the shutdown is what they need to get themselves back into this game. Who stands to be seen as he gets the flag and drag onto Nightscale. He's going to go down very low. Unfortunately, not one member of the red team going to drop in the face of that shutdown. That's a pretty big gold pocket going the way of the red team, but the team fight is going to keep on going as Male has the Gore Trigger to keep himself alive, but Bosk is kiting out beautifully in the face of Seiko, and the Grog is going to keep him alive as well as Liam finds one more shot with the curtain call to get another kill. 2 for 1 for the blue team. Don't be mistaken with that shutdown. They are still absolutely in the driver's seat this game. And with the Rift Herald on the spawn, Vamas is going to try to look for something to make happen here. He's going to find a shutdown onto Graves. That's pretty important. There's no smite on the enemy team here. Maybe this is what they need to find themselves a Rift Herald, but the bot lane of the blue team is still rotated here in the top. They're maintaining that pressure and making sure that the red team can't answer this Rift Herald as Vamas heads all the way back to the bot lane to try to find something here. But all he's going to find is a very angry Irelia. He's going to flash back in with that Blade of Ruin King and destroy Bahamas, who teleported in with half his health. And Oshawa in a familiar scenario is going to try to win out in that 1v1 with that last Super Mega Death Rocket, but now Flash from the Filipino Thug is going to try to find Darkest. A brilliant barrel is going to send Darkest back into the blue team, and that is going to be a kill, I can imagine, but it looks like the game is a little bit frozen right now. Not quite. Oh, okay, it's going to be a surrender from the blue team, or from the red team, excuse me, knowing that their chances are all but finished with that Rift Herald push having been stopped in its tracks.
I mean, it's just top diff, I guess, because if you want to get these heralds, you got to play towards top side. You can't be 0-4, playing Trundle into Shen. It's not possible.
Yep, absolutely. Nightscale making sure that that Rift Herald, even when it gets picked up, isn't going to make anything happen in the bot lane. And that's going to be the second game of the night. Once again, going to the traditional playing League of Legends team. The speedrun strat not quite panning out quite just yet, but maybe we'll see in the third game as we are going to get into a break and wait for that one to get into action. Welcome back to our community in-houses, everybody. In our first two games of the night, pretty interesting strategy from our collegiate team, going for the fastest win they possibly could with 5 teleports and 5 turret tanking machines, but it didn't pan out in either game. As soon as the other team caught onto it in the second one, things got pretty ugly. But I think in this time around, for our third game and potentially the last game of the night, we're gonna have a bit more of a subdued traditional strategy going on. We're just gonna see some good old-fashioned League of Legends. What do you think about what we've seen so far tonight, Nathan?
I mean, yeah, we're gonna see people taking CS, and warding properly against junglers, and not 5 teleports bot, and it'll be a nice change of pace, I guess, to see how these players really play the game.
Yep, and it doesn't change the fact that even though we're in an in-house, we're still going to have the potential to see some pretty interesting strategies going on, even if they aren't so extreme as speedrun League of Legends with 5 teleports. I do think we'll still have the opportunity to see some picks that we aren't so used to in competitive play, and lots of these players have their own individual niches. They've got their own mains, their own one tricks potentially, and I'm really excited to see what these players in our community here at the University of Washington decide to bring to the table. We're still waiting on the lobby to get going, but regardless,
any character you want to see pulled out here?
Any characters that I want to see? Well, personally, I would like to see the Viego come out as a jungle main myself. I haven't got to see too much of the champion in action in my own games, but one of the big interesting things about this new champion is that he has the ability, if he gets his execute onto an opposing champion, he's able to take over their abilities for a short while, and it's going to be a real test of the player's ability, their broad mastery of champions, so to speak. It's something that I think is pretty interesting because it doesn't have very many traditional jungling ganking tools, right? It's got the stun in the form of that dash, but for the most part, it's focused on kind of clearing fast, getting around the map fast with that movement speed. And I'm interested to see the direction that these players decide to take it if they so choose to pick it up. But looks like we're going to be headed into the game with our first ban of the blue team. And it is reassuring to see a player named God Jungle on this blue team. Potentially this guy's going to be the one to bring out that Viego that I'm looking for. Much like the first game, I can imagine we're just going to be looking for some overall power picks in these first few bans. It's going to be the Olaf being taken out, such a driving force in the jungle, especially in the early game. And once he gets a few kills going, he just becomes an unkillable machine with that Gore Drinker, able to heal up so much and be a one-man army all by himself. And you've got to take it out if you're trying to play anything that can't match his pace in the jungle. And now it's going to be the Vi band out, actually, for the red team. This is something pretty interesting because we have not seen Vi in competitive play for quite some time. Potentially one of these members of the blue team is a prolific Vi player. I wouldn't know myself, but that's going to be the ban for the red team regardless. And now maybe we're going to see some respect bans in turn on the blue side, or maybe just keeping in theme with these overall power picks. Going to be the Morgana going out, and that, once again, could be a dig at a champion one of these red team members is known for, but it could also signal that the blue team is going to go for some kind of CC heavy composition potentially, and taking out that Morgana's Black Shield is going to do wonders in being able to execute that through. But then Vladimir is going to be taken out again, something that we're not too used to seeing. But if these players on the blue team, if they're known to be good on the champ, you've got to take it out unless you've got countermeasures for it. And Vladimir, one of the premier late game deal sealers here in League of Legends. If he can make it past 30 minutes to get a few items in his belt, he can absolutely take on entire teams by himself. And now the Cassiopeia going to be one last ban for the red team. This one, I'm sure, is one of the premier picks for Hexsice on the blue team. He's one of the highest ranked players that we have here in these in-houses, but it's going to be a Vayne first pick for the blue team. Quite bold here. I think counter pick options available for the Vayne, but what do you think about how Vayne is able to do for herself in Season 11 with these new items?
I mean, if she's able to just like get through, the first 20 minutes ish, it's just free for her because she gets, Bork, Rageblade, Kraken Slayer up, and you're just three-shotting everyone.
Absolutely. One of the strongest late game carries in the marksman position, and what's going to be key for the red team is drafting a bot lane that does not let her have that easy laning phase that she's looking for. And maybe the Seraphine is going to be a part of that. Maybe the Enchanter support isn't what they're looking for. That could very well go into the mid lane as a solo laner. I think it's very strong in either lane, but it's going to be the Nidalee now picked up for the jungler of the red team. That maybe that early game jungle pressure is going to be what they need to try to pressure this Vayne and make sure that she doesn't take over the game all by herself. But now for the blue team, let's just see how they decide to answer this. So far on the red team, we've got a lot of poke and a lot of long range mage power in just these two picks, and they're going to need something to be able to get onto that if they want to answer that. But maybe what they need isn't to get onto get them onto the blue team. It's going to be the Blitzcrank picked up for the blue team. Going to try to answer these not so mobile or long range mages in the form of the Seraphine and the Nidalee with a hook, take them out of their turf, and make sure that they don't get the opportunity to sit back in the back line and do their damage as they please. And now the Syndra going to be hovered here for the blue team, but it's actually going to be the Neeko. Pretty interesting here as Neeko has a couple ways to be built, right? There is that on-hit option as well as the AP, which we don't see so much of in Season 11 with these new items. And I'm going to be interested to see not only which build this Neeko decides to offer, which lane she's going to be headed into, and how they decide to have this Neeko interact with the red team's composition so far, which is going to be rounded out by the Alistar in the lane, which is going to spell a solo lane Seraphine. And the Alistar maybe is what they need to try to engage onto the Vayne, make sure that she has a hard time in that laning phase. And it is a great answer into the Blitzcrank, I think. If the Alistar does end up getting hooked, he has that Pulverize set up in solid range to try to find at least one member of that bot lane. And now the Silas is going to be taken away from the blue team. Still focusing on those mid lane picks, I think. Got to fear Hexsice on the blue team, especially if he decides to play one of his more prominent champions. But now, with blue team's composition kind of spelled together with this Vayne, I think they're going to be looking to ban out champions that are going to try to give her a hard time, things that can lock her down. But it's actually going to be the Graves instead. Maybe trying to make the jungle matchup a bit easier. It's an odd ban because Nidalee's already been picked up, right? Yeah. Maybe a miscommunication there. Seems like maybe they could have run out of time. Right? Yeah, so Graves, even though he is prominently a jungler, there definitely is potential for him to be run in the solo lanes, and maybe the blue team knows something we don't. Maybe they know something about that mid lane Graves that I know certain analysts in the broader competitive scene have been talking about, at least one of them. But regardless, one last ban for the blue team. It's going to be the Kennen banned out for the red. Another one of Hexsice's main champions. It's going to be the Yone taken away for the blue team. Definitely a strong pick on his own. Similar to the Yasuo, but he's got a lot more agency and he has a lot more freedom, I think, to make some bold plays because of his Spirit Unbound. That ability letting him snap back to his original spot and find a lot of space with his abilities. But now it's going to be the Jinx picked up for the red team. They're going to be answering the scaling of the Vayne with some of their own, and this time it's not going to be in the form of hyper-powered turret taking. Just going to be as a traditional AD carry paired alongside the Alistar, and I think there's a lot of synergy between the two. The slow from the Jinx going to set up Alistar for his Headbutt Pulverize combo, and that's going to set up the Flame Chompers as well. Definitely a lot of burst potential if they can get onto the Vayne, but now it's going to be the Ezreal locked in for the blue team, and this is pretty interesting because one of Neeko's main builds, like I said, is that on-hit option, but they've already got the Vayne as well. Maybe this is something like an AP Ezreal, perhaps, or Ezreal jungle, maybe, but regardless, even with the Neeko going AP, they've got a lot of invested in auto attack damage profile, and that's definitely going to be bolstered by the Lulu. in the solo lane, either in the top or the mid. Going to be bolstering that Vayne, Lulu Vayne, one of the classic combos. Even if they aren't laning together, Lulu going to make sure that Vayne has all the shields and attack speed that she needs to succeed. And in this game, we're going to be wanting to watch out for this bot lane, whether the Vayne or the Jinx are going to be the ones to get the early game off the ground, because both of them absolutely have the potential to be the hyper carry that they need for their teams. But I think one thing that's interesting about the red team's composition is that they've got a lot more of a rounded team fight going on. They've had two super tanky, super strong frontliners in the form of the Scion and the Alistar, and another solid backline. Seraphine and Nidalee doing a similar role to the Lulu for the Vayne, which is keeping her alive, keeping her pumped up with heals and with buffs, and potentially attack speed if they opt for things like the Ardent Sensor. But regardless, both teams pivoting around their AD carries, and we're going to want to see how these team fights go out as we're going to head into the break here and wait for this game to get into action. All right, here we are into the game. Question in the champion selection was who was going to go into the jungle, and we talked about that Vayne sticking out in lane, but what if Vayne didn't even have to play a lane? What if I posited that to you? What if she plays the jungle instead? That's the question that Eigenrector on this Vayne is going to seek to answer here. It's going to be the Vayne jungle with the marksman Ezreal to back him up, and it's going to be the AP Nico as well, at least for the moment. And with some early pings coming down, maybe we're going to see some action with this level 1. When the Blitzcrank comes into the composition, there was always the potential for the invade, and blue team knows it. They're going to try to follow up on it, but red team is no stranger to it, and they're going to be waiting in the secondary bush instead, knowing that blue team's going to be charging out of the river in just a moment, and they're going to have the fully charged decimating smash from Scion awaiting them. This is going to get ugly, folks. The root comes down. That's a 4-man decimating smash into a 4-man pulverize. The flash is coming. It's a massacre. Everybody for themselves. Run for your lives. And the first lane is going to go over to the red team. Daki and Eigenrector trying to run as well with an decimating smash once again, going to find the jungler of the blue team. And now Earwax straying a bit too far into the mid lane, and now the rest of the red team going to follow up. And all they need is the double for the jungler of the red team, and the invade from the blue team absolutely going south. They had to have seen this coming with the Scion pick, but they just didn't prepare for it, and they walk straight into a massive combo from the red team.
Every single flash from the blue team has been used. There's just what a crazy walking in.
Yep, the all chats are being sent out. It's an interesting one now, and it's gonna be heaven for the Nidalee. Sekalok picking up 2 kills for himself, and now playing a game where for 5 whole minutes nobody on the enemy team has flash. This is going to be, this is definitely going to be an interesting one as far as this early game goes. Already 3 kills for the red team, and Sekalok using that amplifying tone as well, some well-placed kiting to get himself an advantage as far as the camps go. I'm interested how Vayne decides to approach this clear. If she doesn't kite too well, it's going to be pretty unhealthy, but it looks like she's going to opt for an early level 3. Maybe into a reverse clear. She had straight for the blue buff after the red, but regardless, plenty of the members of the red team had enjoyed the advantages of that counter invade. Is now a headbutt pulverize with an early level 2. That phase rush. God Jungle going on very low with that ignite, but Cutie Winnie is going to flash right into the hook under the turret. Goes down to Daki with one last auto as Lian now all alone in that lane against the Blitzcrank. Cutie Winnie maybe biting off a bit too much there. She flashes into the turret range, but great reactions from God Jungle with the hook as soon as she exits that flash animation. And now he's on the offensive as well as soon as he hits level 2, trying to find the Alistar, but he's going to play cautiously and going to barely miss out on that hook. Vayne joining the Lulu in the top side, but not going to find anything there, as Scion with a sneaky back is not going to so much as miss anything here in the top lane. Eigenrector actually going to get locked up by the spear from Sekalok. The teleport comes through as well. A well-placed condemn is going to send Sekalok into the wall, but things are looking like lights out. We got to remember the Vayne does not have a flash, and barely Sekalok going to find out that 1v1 with that bite. Vayne now 0-2 in this jungle matchup. Playing Vayne jungle, I can tell you as a jungler, it's pretty hard on its own, but try playing it when you're 3 kills down from your opponent with 2 deaths of your own. Her tempo is so delayed at this raid, and if you thought it was bad if she had a bad laning phase, things are about to get so much worse for Earwax who gets rooted up by the Seraphine and tries to finish off his opponent, but she has the barrier to counter the Ignite. Now Sekalok is on a rampage with 4 kills just 3 minutes and 45 seconds into this game with a double scuttle for himself. There has never been a bigger Nidalee on the face of the earth, and now I think Eigenrector's making a big mistake here trying to counter this Scuttle Crab take. Sekalok's an entire level and a double buff ahead of his opposing jungler. The Contend tries to go through, but a shutdown! The Vayne outplaying the Nidalee in the 1v1, even an item down, and he doesn't even care. Here, he pops the emote. I already showed you what I can do, and I'm going to walk away from it scot-free. A 700 gold shutdown going the way of the Vayne. Brilliantly played by him, not even needing the stun from the Condemn. Beat out the enemy jungler a level down and double buffs down. Super well played by Eigenrector. You can see the confidence of picking this Vayne jungle, and importantly, the Scuttle Crab not going the way of the Nidalee. That's going to keep them alive for just a little bit longer. If she had got a little bit more gold, I can imagine this Nidalee was going to snowball out of control. But finally, Vayne's got a little bit of breathing space to try to clear out those camps. But regardless, especially on this bottom side, it's pretty hard for her to do some farming, even when she's only got a longsword. These AoE camps are doing a number on her, and I imagine she's got to back after each one. Those Raptors are going to do a number as well. But that shutdown definitely changing the tides of this game, Nathan.
I think what Nidalee was expecting there was to smite Skull for some health, but he just kind of ran the other way, you know? So there was no healing for Nidalee, and then kind of missed all your skill shots, and it just Vayne just right clicks you.
Yeah, I mean, Vayne just right clicks you, especially when you're out of that the spells that you need to kite on your own as the Nidalee, and she's not going to be too dissuaded though. She knows that the Vayne has a really hard time doing the she's able to pick those up for herself. Even with that shutdown, she's still got an entire Hextech alternator and a blasting wand to her name. Going to be opting for, I imagine, the Night Harvester that we see so many Nidalees playing for. And she's going to be playing for the 6-minute dragon as well. Knows that she has, even with that shutdown, she has so much priority over the opposing jungler. And Vayne, not the best at stealing away these dragons. And they're just going to hand it off quietly to the Nidalee. 6-minute dragon very early in this game, and setting themselves up potentially for an 8-minute Rift Herald that doesn't even necessarily need to find an inhibitor to get some success. But like Vayne in the bot lane, Vayne in the jungle is just going to be looking to farm things up. Doesn't have the strongest ganks in the world, especially if she can't find a flank, and that's fine by her as long as she's able to find some income. But maybe she doesn't care about that whole ganking thing, and she's going to go into the mid lane and try to find something onto your HUD type 2 here. Doesn't get anything though, just procs the lethal tempo. Earwax not quite landing the root. It's going to mean that that gank is not going to follow through. Vayne really needing the rest of her team to set her up for success in these ganks. Something like a Blitzcrank hook or something like that root from the Nico in order to get things going. And if they don't get going, she's just going to keep being about 5 camps down. Instead, Alistar gets pulled in by the Blitzcrank. The Ignite lands onto Leon. He's forced to heal and run away from this one, but God Jungle is keeping up the chase with that overcharge. Flashes away from that last Mystic shot from the Ezreal, but Guard team is continuing to lose out in this fight. Cutie getting run down here, and out of the top lane, Sion with the Decimating Smash might have looked for a soul kill. He absolutely is the one barely coming in time to keep himself alive. If Pasha had pulled the trigger on that charge just a little bit sooner, I imagine Hexice would have been dead on the spot, but fortunately able to get the ball, go through as a flash hook onto Winnie, is going to finish him off. Daki on a killing spree down there in the ball, and this Blitzcrank is playing out of his mind even after the deficit from that disastrous level 1, and that's going to be a huge wave being crashed into the turret. Winnie's about to lose so much experience and so much gold to the turret here, and Daki is so ahead in the bot lane. This is looking like the real good condition here. The Vayne was just a distraction. It's now God Jungle making his way in, finds another brilliant hook on the second lock while he's doing the Gromp, and the Condemn is going to find the stuff to the wall, forced to flash away before that third hit. But Eigenrector picks up the chase, went with that silver bullet, but he's going to get locked up by the Alistar and the combination of the Flame Chompers, and now God Jungle going to finish off as well. A double kill going the way of Winnie, who just got back here, opportunistically picking up those kills, and now in the top lane we got a fight between Pasho and Hexice, but doesn't look like much going to happen here unless Hexice decides to keep up the chase. Daki picking up another kill for himself, super low, 1 HP outplay, and speaking of outplays, Hexice is going to find Pasho as well. Kills all across the board, and Hexice flashing away from the Sion is able to pick up that solo kill for himself in the top lane. Both teams answering back in turn. This one could go either way for.
I mean, that Nidalee Spear was doing huge damage after Alistar hits that stun. I mean, Vayne just gets one-tapped. But then, I don't know, Nidalee again misses the jump after hitting the Ezreal, and then that kind of just stopped him getting the kill. And then,
yep.
You know.
And I think that really set up Daki to finish him off with just a sliver of health left to his name, but Sekalok continuing to not be dissuaded as he has a full Night Harvester completed just 8 minutes into this game. That is a mythic item, folks, and that is going to be a big power spike for him. Even earlier than something like the Moonstone Staff of Flowing Water build, and that's going to mean that he has so much impunity to walk into this Rift Herald and try to take it, but he's still going to fear what looks like Aegon Rector, but is in fact the Nico. Not quite going to start that Rift Herald unless he gets a little bit more priority in his solo lanes. Just going to make sure that he's getting those camps cleared out in time, but Aegon Rector, he got a shutdown early into this game. That was a big 700 gold going his way, but he's still having such a hard time just by merit of how difficult these clears are for him. And God Jungle is going to look for another God Hook, but not going to find it quite this time. He's still doing so well in this game, and a big reason why the blue team was able to come back from that level 1. But regardless, Sekalok is plenty of camps ahead of his opponent. He's going to be looking for this mid gank while the Bane tries to start up the Rift Herald. The Sun is going to land onto the Seraphine, but Earwax finished off with Sekalok, who lands a brilliant spear thanks to the charm from Yorha. And now Godchenko once again looking for that hook, but isn't quite going to find it. But here's a Scion coming careening out of nowhere. Down in the bush, Godjungle running for the hills as the Super Mega Deathwalker going to find him taken down to half HP as Sekalok tries to go on, but he gets silenced and knocked up for just a moment. That's only going to delay the inevitable as he picks up yet another kill for himself. 6 kills on this Nidalee barely before 10 minutes into this game, and now finally he has what he needs to pick up that Rift Herald as well, only widening this gold gap. The red team is 5 kills ahead 10 minutes into this game, and they're bringing it to about a 3,000 gold advantage potentially once this Rift Herald goes down. And Daki, even though he's got 4 kills to his name, so does Winnie after that botched invade after they had gotten so many kills down there in the bot lane. She's actually the one who's got the bounty on this Jinx, and Pasho just walking straight into Hexsize's turret and getting himself some platings. The Lulu, even though she is quite a bit of a lane bully, can't do a lot, especially when Silence opted for this kind of sustaining build with the Vamp Scepter. Able to shield a lot of that poke, but maybe not a lot of this all in as Hexize puts down the poly. He's going to try to finish off Pasho here, but doesn't have a lot yet. Knows that his opponent's flash isn't able to follow up on that clay, but Dako is going to follow up with a shutdown onto the Jinx, and now Lian once again running for his life to Aegon Rector with a big gank is going to get another kill to the real marksman of this game. Daki 6-1 on this Ezreal, nearly 30 CS ahead of his opponent, and now potentially the Dragon's going to be going the way of the blue team to even things out. Not going to go for the platings here. They're going to try to play the long game, and now Pasho with that charge is maybe going to try to go in on the Hexize here. The Pause goes down, but doesn't interrupt the Decimating Smash, so the Thunderlords goes down. But Hexize kiting beautifully with that Phaser, so he's able to keep himself alive in the face of the Scion, who didn't quite have the ultimate that he needs to finish him off. So the Jinx with the Super Mega Death Rocket from downtown. I imagine he just wanted to steal, but he gets a kill for it instead. Good for the Jinx, and Sekalok, even after losing the Dragon, just gonna tie things up in that neutral objective apartment. He still has the Rift Herald though, and a lot of opportunities to use, and I imagine he's gonna try to put it down in the top lane if that goes down to 2 plating to make sure that whole turret goes down, but it could also go the way of the mid lane turret, getting that chip damage, and once that mid lane turret goes down, it's going to be a lot more opportunities for the Nidalee to be invading the Vayne, who we know has a hard time clearing out these camps, but maybe an invade isn't what she wants. Maybe that's just another opportunity to get condemned and outplayed, but I think it's pretty hard for a Vayne at 66 CS, 12 minutes into this game, to outplay a full Night Harvester Magia's Nidalee. Condemned not quite going to lock up the Nidalee, who's forced to flash away from this one, but now the final hour is coming down, but Sekalok has so much damage. Aegon Rector once again with the outplay, even in the face of the flash, is able to find the opposing jungler. Didn't have a flash of his own, but he didn't even need it. In the face of a Mythic and a stacked Magi's, he's able to find another shutdown on his opponent. Maybe the second shutdown is what he needs to get back into this game. For the moment, blue team's still kind of on the back foot. Sekalok really testing the limits here with how strong he is, and I can't blame him for it. If I had a Night Harvester at 10 minutes in, or at 8 minutes into the game, excuse me, I'd be really all over the opposing team too. But fortunately, blue team not going quietly into the night, able to pick it up where they need to, and Daki 6 kills ahead of his opponent, but still Winnie able to fight back, and God Jungle now look for a hook, able to get it with the flash, but the Alistar tries to get the headbutt pull into him, is able to find 2 with the pulverize. Ezreal's keeping up the chase, and he gets one more flash auto to finish off that last kill. Now 7 kills to his name, 13 minutes into the game, but here is a Scion, folks. That is full AD with the Sanguine Blade coming down to try to find something. Doesn't quite get Daki, but Daki's kiting away, but he low lands from the Spore of the Slayer, and now maybe the Decimating Slash. The prediction tries to come down onto Daki, but he's not going to buy into it, as he tries to use the Blast, but only goes straight up, but buys enough time for the rest of the team to make it in here, and now the Condemn is going to land onto Lian, and a big ult potentially from the Nico is going to be missed out by the Flash, and now Nico going to go very low, but a massive 4-man charm from the Seraphine is going to lock up the whole blue team, but now here's Hexax joining the fight as the hook. Once again, this Blitzcrank is on top of it, even if he goes down to one last spear, he's able to get a kill for it, and now Hexax flashing onto the opposing jungler is going to land those slows with that Glitter Lance. Is he going to be able to outplay this one? Nidalee has no mana, he doesn't need to cast those Cougar abilities, and he's finally able to pick up that last kill. That is an ace, potentially. 5 kills going the way of the blue team, really turning things around in the bot lane, where this Ezreal is able to make so much happen alongside God Jungle on this Blitzcrank, landing every single hook that his team needs in order to get back into this game. But now for the final hour, Eigenrector's looking for here, but he's going to the Flame Chompers. Not quite going to find anything, including the blue buff, and not going to extend much further, knowing that the cow is there to bodyguard for his AD carry. Now suddenly things are in the favor of the blue team, 1,000 gold advantage about, and a big bounty on the Ezreal's name, and the red team knows it. Maybe they're going to keep looking for these red team plays, but you've got to be dissuaded after how much style God Jungle's been able to put onto them. And in the top lane, you can see Scion, even though he's traditionally played as a tank and absolutely, we're going to stop right there as you're picked up by yet another fantastic hook from God Jungle. The headbutt pulverize is going to keep the blue team at bay for just a moment, buy enough time for Yorha to be able to walk away from this one. But God Jungle's keeping up the chase in the opposing jungle. Nidalee's looking for the flank though, and Earwax is looking quite low himself. Winnie's got a flank of her own as he goes onto the Blitzcrank, and Nico tries to keep herself alive with the shield, but lands right on the Flame Chompers. 2 kills going the way of the red team to even up this gold lead. 1 kill advantage to their name. And now, really, it could go. 3 members of the red team are barreling down the mid lane. Going to carve out a little bit of priority for themselves as this dragon is about to spawn. It's going to be the Infernal Soul this game, as the spear almost lands onto Daki, who's able to buffer the Arcane Shift in the face of that headbutt pulverize, and Lian gets kited into the bush, isn't able to get that last stun with the auto attack, but the Ezreal is absolutely gigantic. Even in the face of the monsters on the red team, he's got the Divine Sunder and the Monamune nearly act for himself. Dragon to be spawning in just a few moments here, and we're going to see who's going to be the first to pull the trigger. Maybe looking for a fight before that dragon spawns to turn it from a 50-50 into something more advantageous, but I think for the red team it's going to come down to whether they can take out this Ezreal, but Nidalee's doing so much poke as the members of the blue team try to find something and try to get some vision for themselves in this bot side jungle. They're able to secure it back, but only at the cost of about 40% of God Jungle's health from one ability from that Nidalee. Dragon about to spawn, and with Hexice in the top lane, it looks like the blue team is just going to settle for giving this one up and try to find some priority in the mid lane in exchange for it. Eigenrector, though, he's making his way into the river. This might be dangerous for just a lone Vayne, but he has teammates with him. 2 Blitzcranks coming, charging into battle with him. They're able to carve enough space for Eigenrector start up this Infernal Dragon, but a big Scion is going to do so much damage to Earwax and the Vayne. He's going to headbutt Pulverize to finish it off with so much damage at that lethality Scion. That's going to be 3 kills for 1. Shutdown, Daki able to find the Nidalee in the backside of that fight, but now he's on his own in the opposing territory, and he's got to run for his life. He finishes off the Blast Cone. Maybe he didn't need that to make his escape, as Lane is looking for the headbutt to try to send him back into the opposing team, and now he gets the Pulverize as well as the Flame Chomper is going to connect, but there's not a lot of damage on Daki. He's actually going to Arcane Shift back into the fight. He's so tanky with his Divine Cinder ability. He has so much sustain as well with that healing between the Conqueror as well, and these 2 members of the red team know that they are not enough to finish him off. Fortunately, though, able to get 3 kills thanks to a massive Scion ult. Losing are actually picking up the dragon for themselves as well. A really great fight for the red team overall.
I'm interested to see what this Scion's will late.
Oh, I'm gonna have to stop you right there once again as Gaja goes over these hooks, picking up the Seraphine once again. That flash, and now Pasho may be on the run. Here's the recall is gonna be dropped right in front of his face. God Jungle knows he's playing out of his mind, and he is going to make sure the enemy team knows it as well. He's just tanking these spears to try to look for a hook of his own, but isn't able to get it. Not a lot of setup for that one, but Daki has plenty of poke as well. The Javelin Toss is doing a lot of damage, but so are those Mystic Shots with those Sheen proc. And once that Muramana gets completed for the Ezreal, that's going to be even more damage on the main carry of this team. And he's set up for success with the Lulu having built the Moonstone Renewer. Now Lulu gonna be able to pump out so many heals, and potentially once he gets the Ardent Sensor or perhaps the Staff of Flowing Water as well, gonna bolster Ezreal's ratios and his attack speed even beyond what he's already at. Muramon finally completed for the Ezreal. Blue team knows they've got to play around this one player if they want to win this game, but they don't have a lot of tools for it. One big problem with this composition is the lack of frontline, but they're going to try to make up for it by removing the numbers advantage thanks to these beautiful Blitzcrank hooks. But in a straight-up 5v5, I imagine Red Team absolutely got the advantage. The Alistar and the Scion with such strong engage tools able to get onto these two marksmen around which the Blue Team's composition pivots. Condemn going to try to land onto Sekalok, and the Eigenrector forced to flash away from that one, but God Jungle is now looking for the play onto him. His shield gets procced, and now Earwax flashing in as well to try to land the root, but Nilly's kiting so well. He's finally going to go down to the Ignite. 3 members of the Blue Team expending so many Summoner spells to find just that one kill. Not getting so much as a shutdown for it, and now they're going to keep up the push in this mid lane potentially as God Jungle fishing for a hook. Bear's only going to find a minion, has to keep himself alive with the shield from the Lulu, and that's a big root, and now a big charm coming out as well. 3 members locked up. Importantly, Daki is going to be locked up under the turret. He's rooted as well. That's a big shutdown onto the Ezreal. The one carry that Blue Team needed to win this game, and now Red Team's on the offensive as Earwax is going to pop up Top Blossom. They're going to find one thanks to it. The Alistar going to locked up and finally finished off by Eigenrector, and Winnie and the Seraphine not able to find much in exchange. But here's Scion once again, folks, finds head size, nearly kills Earwax as well, and goes in with the Powerless Claw. Doesn't quite have the damage yet, and shutdown going down onto the Jinx in the backline, and Eigenrector is tearing them apart with that invisibility, and Pasho getting kited out as well. Blue Team able to turn around that engage beautifully, even in the face of so much damage from this lethality. Scion, look at this Vayne jungle, folks. 8 kills after such a horrendous early game start, with those shutdowns doing so much for the team. Now even 1,000 gold, or 500 gold, excuse me, ahead of the opposing jungler who had everything in the world to work with. And there are the key items that she needed completed, folks. The Kraken Slayer and the Ginsu's Rage Blade. These are the 2 items Vayne needs to absolutely come online. This is the 1v9 state of the Vayne. And the question is, how much is Blue Team going to be able to play around it? How much is the Red Team going to be able to stop her? Because now they've got 2 big marksman problems to worry about. The Ezreal with the fully completed Muramana, and the Vayne who's got those 2 core items completed. And Eigenrector, knowing that he's got all this % health at his disposal, is going to start up the Baron Nashor on spawn. Blitzcrank here, tank it up, and it looks like the Red Team not clued into this play happening in the fog. No vision on the Baron. They were expecting this. The Vayne jungle paying off in spades, doing so much damage to the Baron Nashor to finish off in just 30 seconds, just like that. Now they've got a whole Baron Nashor on their side, and that's going to make this siege in the mid lane with this double marksman so much more threatening, and that's going to make this dragon coming up even harder to take, as now Lian getting locked up by the Condemn is forced to use that Unbreakable Will to keep himself immune and with that damage reduction. But now Daki, he's got a lot more room to work with, as he knows that Red Team has to respect the Vayne after what they just saw happen in the mid lane. Red Team forced to concede this mid lane turret peacefully, is now the True Shot Barrage going to come out as well. One thing with the Blue Team's composition, though, don't have a lot of engage tools other than an opportunistic hook from the Blitzcrank. That's really what they're relying on, so they're going to have to be playing around these objectives in order to start these fights. But if they can play around those just right with the positioning, then that's exactly what they need in order to win out in these games. Dragon going to be spawning in just a moment here, and that's where we're going to see the action really turn on. The Red Team not looking too short themselves. Moonstone Renewer and the Staff of Flowing Water completed on the Seraphine. She's going to be able to provide so much healing and so many stats to her team as God Jungle pops the movement speed from the Shirelia's Reveler. He's going to be looking for something, maybe. This Eigenrector's Ghost going to come in with plenty of movement speed, and the Red Team forced to seed away this Infernal Dragon, tying things up at 2-2 as far as the Dragons go. And here we go once again. Scion is going to get hit by the wall. Is engaged, and now Eigenrector is going to... is way too squishy in the face of this 2-item Vayne. Pasho gonna go down as well. He's unstoppable. Triple kill with the Lulu. Who can stop this Vayne? Now he's gonna run down the rest of the Red Team with the movement speed from the Lulu. God Jungle gonna follow up as well. He lands 1 auto. That's 2. That's 3. That is a plenty of true damage onto Lian, who tries to follow the Unbreakable Will in order to keep himself alive. But Eigenrector is not stopping here. He wants a pet, and he's maybe going to find it here. An ace. 5 kills picked up by Eigenrector. 4 kills, excuse me. Not quite the ace, not quite the quadra kill, but so much power in this Vayne jungle pick and really coming online as soon as he's paired with that Lulu. And with the Baron Nashor to their name, it looks like blue team is not going to settle for anything less than ending this game. The death timers are slightly in their favor, still 20 seconds until the Seraphine spawns, but it looks like with that inhibitor going down, they're going to respect the rest of the red team and going to try to look for the base here. Eigenrector with the Phantom Dancer completed. Who can stop this man once he has the Lulu on his side? Going to pick up Spectre's Cowl as well, as we got a fight going on outside the base of the red team as Pasha going to go in on God Jungle, and Daki trying to tank it up 1v4, but doesn't have the backup from the Lulu quite just yet. He's going to try to save herself as Pasha going to try to go in with the engage, but isn't able to find it. It's going to get locked up by the root. Sekalov looking for the Javelin toss, going to try to flash, picks up that one last kill with that bite. And Iraq going to be the sole survivor of this fight, as the Vayne was the one who got that opportunistic back and was able to walk away and prevent the red team from picking up that massive shutdown on the true carry of this blue team. This game has been tossed back and forth between the two marksmen, but right now it is absolutely showing the Vayne and the synergy between this Lulu, that she is the one who's going to win out in this game. And red team, though, with those 3 picks earlier, going to try to look for something here as the Vayne pick up 2 kills in the back line to keep the fight going, but Eigenrector is not dropping. The Spectre's Cowl doing so much for him, and now the Lulu's here to join the fight. The stun going to lock up too, and Eigenrector is a 1v5 machine. He does not care, folks, that he's playing a marksman. He's going to dive into the backline and find 2 kills before red team even knows what hit him. He does not need the Lulu. He doesn't need the Nico, but they sure do help, and Eigenrector are going to pick up that huge team fight. Another ace going the way of the blue team, and maybe this is the game ender, folks. Lots of attack speed on this Vayne. Maybe this is what they need. Red team, though, they've got the death timers coming up, about 5 seconds left on the jungler and the AD carry. True Shot Barrage going to come down and try to thin out that wave, but with the recalls coming down, it looks like blue team maybe going to give up on this push. Vayne, once again, backing ahead of her team. She's not there. This is the real carry of the team, not present in this team fight. It's going to mean that maybe blue team's going to lose out on it once again as a and find the shutdown onto the Nico, and now the rest of the red team going, or the blue team going to get destroyed with their main carry not there. Vayne might have completed that Spirit Massage on that back, but at what cost, as 4 members of the blue team are going to go down, and red once again answering back with a big team fight of their own, but not able to pick up so much for it. No neutral objectives up quite just yet. They're just able to get the gold from those kills, but everything matters right now. Right now it looks like they have no answer to this Vayne, who's able to dive into the backline without a ban, and now he's going to get the condemn as well onto the Nidalee. He's going to be looking for solo killed. Who can stop Eigenrector? He is legendary, folks. 16 kills of the 32 on the blue team. 4 items completed at just 25 minutes, when many Vaynes at this rate are still trying to get their second. He doesn't need anyone on his side. He is looking to win this game all by himself, and the supporting cast, they've just got to do their part and keep this Vayne alive. But the rest of the red team just got to watch in horror as this monster walks all over their camps. What could they possibly do in the face of this Vayne? She's got tankiness, she's got damage, she's got stealth, she's got mobility, she's got everything that she needs to be set up to win this game all by herself. And God Jungle trying to set her up with a hook that's barely going to miss out. But regardless, red team going to be forced into a fight at one point or another, as we have the Baron Nashor and the Infernal Dragon both coming up. Another Infernal Dragon going the way of the Vayne is going to spell even greater trouble for the red team, bolstering the damage that she's built for herself. And look at that, she's going for the QSS after the Spirit Massage. Many players might be thinking, why is she going for damage? Where's her Infinity Edge? She knows that all she needs are these 2 items, Ginsu's Rage Blade and the Kraken Slayer. That's all she needs in order to win in order to deal the damage that she needs to win the game by herself. And everything after that is in service of that win condition. She's going to make sure that she's keeping up the healing from the Lulu, and she's keeping up the final hour onto Winnie, who's going to get locked up by the headbutt. Right, those tries to get a 1v5, but the Seraphine is going to miss thanks to the tumble. And now the rest of the blue team is on the offense, because Eigenrector for just a moment as he finishes off the kill onto the Alistar. He's legendary once again. And the True Shot Barrage actually gets Zhonya's. This might have been a mistake by Yorha. Now he's going to get blocked by Daki. And now blue team with 2 kills looking to end this game finally for the last chance. Is now Pasho. He was getting some split push going down in the bot lane. He's looking to try to get something for himself, but he has to back in order to mount the base defense. And blue team, knowing that he's going to head back, is going to go for the Infernal Dragon instead. They're going for the high percentage play. They don't want to throw this game. If anywhere the red team is able to pick up the Vayne, that is absolutely going to turn the tides in their favor, and they know it. And they are just going to look to get the permanent stat advantage from this Infernal Dragon. And they know that they still have the inevitability of this Baron Nashor. He can always threaten it with this Vayne, and Pasho gonna try to make that Baron Nashor a bit too hard, a little bit harder to take, like finishing off that inhibitor by himself, but he's gonna lose his life for it. This is the game plan of that AD Scion, and he's welcoming it. But now blue team maybe looking for the Nidalee once again as Sekalok maybe in a bit of trouble here as the Kendem isn't going to find the stun, but that's still a 2-level ahead Vayne chasing down the Nidalee. Nico with him as well, and look at that, not even going to kill the pink ward. Blue team is going to start this Baron Nashor up immediately, knowing that they have the numbers advantage, but Earwax going pretty low thanks to the poke from Sekalok on the backline. And now Hexa's barely dodging out another Javelin toss is going to mean that blue team's health bar is actually lower than you might expect. Eigenrector, though, that's the one health bar that matters, and he's melting this Baron Nashor. And now Red Team going to look pretty engaged with the Seraphine. They'll only be able to find this. Sekalok tries to find the steal, but he's just going to get condemned in one shot once again. Zonya's Hourglass going to keep himself for just a moment. Earwax going to get himself in the action of picking up these kills. Finally, one that doesn't go the way of the Vayne, but it's not even going to be necessary. As once again, the deaths are staggered. 4 members of the red team alive. Pasho is going to teleport down into the bot lane. He knows they can't win in a straight-up fight. He's going to have to try to win this game by himself, and he knows that the blue team is going to back to try to stop him. And now another hook, brilliant from the Blitzcrank, is going to pick a kill onto Yorha in the mid lane on that Seraphine. And Vayne and Lulu, though, even though they're the main unit team, they're down in the bot lane. Hexas spots the Scion looking from the engage from behind. He has the charge. Who's he going to find with it? But Daki kiting out well. No one gets hit by the Scion quite just yet, and he's going to get locked up by God Junglu. Silences it out as well. And Ducky, even though he's not a 17-kill Vayne, he is still an absolutely massive late-game AD carry. And Pasha going to go down in the backline as a double kill goes the way of Daki. Only 2 members of the red team alive, Nidalee and the Jinx, trying to do whatever they can to make sure that their Nexus doesn't fall as the inhib is going to drop, and Earwax dropping the emotes, man. He knows this game is all but written. 1 Nexus turret left alive. Can Winnie and Sekalok pull off the miracle here? It doesn't look like it. The Flash and Pop-Off is going to find massive damage onto the AD carry of the red team as well. Going to lock up the other 2. A charm almost bringing 2 members into the fountain. Ezreal going to go in willingly and going to get shut down, but it hardly matters for him. As Vayne down there in the bot lane knows she doesn't even be needed to finish off the Nexus in this game. They're just going to play with their food for a little bit. Eigenrector picking up, making sure he's getting those CS numbers up. Is now Leon. He doesn't want to lose this game. They're going to try to look for the last stand play onto Earwax with that headbutt. Pulverize. Doesn't find it quite just yet as no. Scion going to go in as well. Earwax going to go down pretty low, but he's got a lot of tools to Kylo with that Scion, but can't quite out the flash ult from that champion. Eigenrector, though, going to pick up an inhibitor in the bot lane. Didn't want to end the game quite just yet. He still wants to have his fun. He doesn't have full item build yet. Come on, guys. Let me have just a little bit more fun before I finish off this Nexus. The Lulu and the Vayne. This is what this game has been all about, folks. And now here we go. Can they 1v5? Eigenrector go in and one-shot the AD carries. He's going to flash away from the headbutt before he can keep himself alive. So many heals going to go down, but it isn't even necessary as the minions are going to finish off the Nexus and finish off an explosive game from the jungle Vayne, answering all the questions that we had, even in the face of a level 1 play that put them 3 kills behind, even in the face of a 6-kill Nidalee with an 8-minute mythic item. None of it meant anything to Eigenrector, who finishes this game off with 19 kills and some absolutely massive plays, some more massive plays than I've seen from some of the best Vaynes in the world. A brilliant game from the blue team.
I mean, you watch the early game, right? You say 8 minutes Night Harvester Nidalee against what, 03, 04 Vayne? No chance this game she even comes online. But some thrown fights, I mean, earlier on Nidalee tries to go 1v3, but doesn't work out, miss your spells, and it just, you give Vayne free gold, and that's how it turns out.
It was those shutdowns that absolutely put Vayne back into that game, right? But I think those absolutely pivoted around Eigenrector's knowledge of how that matchup was going to go, his ability to use Condemn just when he needed to, and able to find those 1v1 solos, those shutdowns, huge amounts of gold going into his pocket. And even though he was losing out so badly in that early game, that was all that he needed to become that 1v5 machine, walking into the backline with that stealth and winning the game all by himself. Fantastically done from them. And I think that's going to do it for us here at the community in-houses, folks. An absolutely energetic Game 3 going to finish off this night. And that's going to do it for this broadcast. We hope you join us next time for next week at the Apple Cup when our team competes against the rest of the collegiates in League of Legends. And also join us whenever we have these in-houses. And you can follow us at UW Esports on Twitter, on our socials. You can follow this channel on Twitch as well. But we're going to be signing off here, and I think I've got to take a long break after here.
Yeah, I mean, 3 games, lots of things going on, 5 teleports, just Be good to take a break, yeah, for the night.